Ma'am, we have you registered as Laura Kincheloe. You're here representing Texas Nurses Association as well as yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Hello, and thank you for the opportunity to be here this morning with you. My name is Laura Kincheloe. I serve as the Director of Nursing Practice at the Texas Nurses Association. I've been a proud Texas registered nurse for 14 years, and I am in support of this bill. This bill was developed following a recommendation from the Healthcare Workforce Task Force, which is a mouthful, but one that was very intentional in their work, and as a priority from Governor Abbott to address the various healthcare workforce shortages. This bill addresses Task Force Recommendation 8, which aims to streamline the nursing school application process by including nursing school programs in a standardized system in the Texas Medical and Dental Schools application service. It would move nursing schools to a single statewide application system, which again is already in use by many other partners. This would solve three major problems with admissions for nurses or aspiring nurses. First, it's going to solve a huge data problem that we have. Right now, we're told that there are thousands of qualified applicants turned away every year, but we really only know the number of qualified applications that are turned away. That does not account for if an applicant applies to multiple nursing schools. What we know now is that the data, again, is per application, not per applicant. This is by measuring these applicants, we would eliminate a data duplication issue that's really just plagued the state's workforce planning for quite some time. Second, it would allow nursing students to get more information about alternative schools they could go to if they do not get their preferred options, and reduce the financial burden by eliminating multiple application or processing fees. This is specifically one that I've spoke with students about over and over again, about they weren't accepted into their preferred school and now they've missed the application cycle. What do they do next? And oftentimes that results in having to wait another year to apply for another program. Third, this would provide better global statistics about nursing school applications, which can forecast future workforce needs or issues, informing future legislative action. I've spoken with many aspiring nursing students, faculties, and others who are trying to solve this issue, who are all sharing a very common frustration with these inconsistencies. This bill would allow for a more streamlined process, eliminate many data barriers, and aim to enter more qualified nursing applicants into nursing programs. Lastly, the Nursing Legislative Agenda Coalition, which is a coalition of over 20 specialty nursing organizations in Texas, are also in support of this bill, and we all appreciate your support. I'll entertain any questions. Thank you.
Members, any questions? Ma'am, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Greatly appreciate. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Bill 2851? If not, Chair recognizes Vice Chair Howard to close on the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am so appreciative of Governor Abbott's getting this task force together, because it is making a huge difference with, as I said, very pragmatic policy recommendations that I think are going to make a difference. And I am especially grateful also to Victoria Ford for her leadership of this task force. Just to close, the thing, I think I've even mentioned it before in here, it was just astounding to realize that we weren't turning away qualified applicants because we didn't have capacity. It really was just, it was revolutionary information to get, to really understand what's going on here so that we can actually address it. And I think this is an excellent way to do it. I'm very pleased they made this recommendation. As you've heard, other healthcare professionals are already doing this common application, and it works. It brings students to the institutions that actually have the seats. And we've had reports of those professions saying that it increased their output. So very hopeful that this can make a difference for the nursing shortage. And I appreciate your favorable consideration. And if there's no other questions, I close.
Members, additional questions? None. Ma'am, thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's no objection, the bill will be left pending. Is there an objection? The chair hears none. The bill will remain pending. Chair lays out House Bill 2856 and recognizes Vice Chair Howard to explain the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, we're continuing the discussion on nursing shortage. We talked already about the task force. This is also in regard to the task force. According to the Department of State Health Services presentation to the Healthcare Workforce Task Force, there are two main reasons why prospective nursing students are turned away when they are turned away, besides what we just talked about, and why nursing schools continue to struggle to increase graduation rates. The first reason is the lack of faculty positions and applicants for these positions. And the second reason that we're going to be talking about in House Bill 2856 is the lack of clinical space. The Center for Nursing Workforce Studies found that during the 23-24 academic year, 64% of nursing programs struggled to find clinical sites for their students. In fact, 24% of programs had to reject qualified applicants due to a shortage of clinical placements. Obviously, clinical training is an important part of nursing education. It offers students an opportunity to put what they learned in the classroom to the test. Through clinical rotations, nursing students learn best practices from their preceptor, test their knowledge, build confidence, and hone their skills. To solve this aspect of the nursing shortage issue, we need to ensure schools have the faculty to support their training program, have the partnerships necessary to increase the number of clinical training facilities, and have systems in place to improve coordination between healthcare facilities and schools. And that's what we're addressing in House Bill 2856. That final piece of the puzzle, which is to create an opportunity for coordination between healthcare facilities and schools regarding clinical sites. Some collaboratives already exist at a local or regional level for schools to better coordinate these clinical sites. These collaborations have resulted in higher graduation rates, thus increasing the workforce available to hospitals. However, there isn't a collaboration that seeks to do this statewide. House Bill 2856 will direct the Higher Education Coordinating Board to conduct a feasibility study to evaluate what would be needed to develop regional portals to assist in identifying clinical rotations at healthcare facilities for students. The study will determine the number of regions needed to adequately support nursing programs and students, and will include the costs associated with establishing these regional portals. Like most bills, House Bill 2856 will not completely solve the crisis we're facing, but it is an important step, again, in the right direction. If we want to ensure our state has the nursing workforce necessary to support our growing population, then we need to do what we can to address the chokeholds in the workforce pipeline, and lack of clinical sites is one of those important chokeholds. So I'm happy to answer any questions and reserve the right to close.
Members, question? Thank you, ma'am. We'll reserve your right to close.
Thank you.
This time the chair calls Laura Kincheloe. Ma'am, we have you registered as Laura Kincheloe, representing Texas Nurses Association, as well as yourself, and you're for the bill. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Thank you, ma'am. Please proceed.
Again, Laura Kincheloe, Texas Nurses Association Director of Practice, and a proud registered nurse for 14 years here. I am in support of this bill. Additionally, this bill is supported by the Nursing Legislative Agenda Coalition, which is, again, over 20 nursing specialty organizations who support this bill and appreciate your support as well. So this comes, again, as Rep. Howard mentioned, directly from a recommendation provided by the Healthcare Workforce Task Force to address the clinical placement challenges that faculty and clinical partners experience. So even if you have an approved education program, faculty often describe limitations they have for clinical placement. I'll give you a personal example of my own experience. I was once a clinical coordinator responsible for coordinating a leadership clinical for nursing students. I had about 80 to 100 nursing students that I had to place in 3 different clinical rotations, and I only had 26 spots to place them in a 16-week period, which posed a very unique challenge because I had a lot to do in a short amount of time, and this manual process took hours upon hours for me to figure out. Even at the end of moving everybody around to try to get placements, I still needed spots, so I had to ask leaders if they would take on additional students to help meet the needs of this clinical placement rotation. There are a couple regional collaboratives that are working as a nursing consortium to get this going, and it's working very effectively in those areas. But again, that's geographically limited. There are many areas around Texas that do not have the nursing consortia option. So this bill would initiate that feasibility study for coordinating clinical placements throughout the state to determine how to best maximize clinical placement sites. There are 3 goals with this feasibility study that it would accomplish. One being identifying the number of regions needed to adequately support institutions of higher education and students that require clinical training. 2, it would highlight the costs of establishing these regional portals. And 3, the necessary maintenance support and staff required to establish and maintain the regional portals from a sustainability standpoint. So I hope you will consider supporting this bill so that we can study this and the study can be conducted to better identify a statewide collaborative solution and to meet the needs of all future Texas nurses, ensuring clinical placement sites for all students. Any questions?
Members, any questions? Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thanks so
Appreciate
much.
you.